This is Lady Maya. I am here with Mr. Darren Jones. he knows why I said it like that because it's the truth. Anyway, he is a wonderful man. This man has a story to tell us about his lows, his highs, and where he is planning on going from here. Mr. Jones, if you want to say hello to the masses.
Hello, world. Hello, world. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You are quite welcome, sir. Thank you for being here. Okay, so Mr. Jones, please tell us. I want to know, I would like you to explain the story from the beginning because the story is so interesting to me. And I believe it'll be interesting to my viewers as well. So, you know what? The floor is yours. Go for it, sir.
Awesome. Well, hello, world. My name is Darren Jones, and I am a bona fide, deep down to the core, West Coast, South Side, San Jose guy who loves his godmother, Mary Garcia, who raised him as her own. I'm someone who always just had a passion and a knack for people. I never meet a stranger. Um, One of the things about my journey that I love to share with people is, when I grew up in San Jose, California, I was always, the only black kid in the classroom, and but it really didn't mean anything to me because I never met a stranger, right? Now, as I began to go through my journey, my parents both being from Louisiana, um, my dad, Navy guy, my mom, college country girl. He moves her down. 4 years later, I come on the scene, and and I'm just exposed to all this diversity. Of course, I didn't know what that word. Nobody used that word back in the '70s, but it was our neighborhood was a very diverse neighborhood. Everybody knew each other. Everybody embraced me as their son because I am an only child. Um, if I did something I didn't have if I did something I didn't have no business doing, nobody would go and tell my parents, but they would pull me to the side and be like, "Hey, you don't need to be doing that." So, but the journey for me, growing up in California, I've always had an inquisitive mind. I've always wanted, always had questions. Always wanted to know, but no one had the answers for me. My turnout happened roughly around 13 when I began to get really, really heavy into the shift in hip hop music. And at the time, hip hop started to become real conscious in terms of what we now call woke, very back to Africa, red, black, and green energy. Now, why is this so important? Well, for me, but all my friends were either Mexican, Filipino, white, or some were Samoan, somewhere in between, right? So for me to, come into this enlightenment and wanting to know more about, my heritage and my background, as a black male, was a very exciting journey. And I credit that to hip hop, but I also credit one particular hip hop artist by the name of Paris out of Oakland. In his cassette, see, I'm kind of telling my age now. In the inside of his tape, he had like little short biographies on different black figures, and it was then that I developed an interest in wanting to read. Because prior to that, I hated reading. I hated reading, but thanks to Mr. Paris, brother Paris, I was able to read something that had my attention. And after that, uh, when people ask me about personal development, well, for me, personal development and self-help started with that album by Paris, and the album was called "The Devil Made Me Do It." That's where it started for me, you know. So then for that journey, I found myself in a place where, um, young teenager, just trying to find my place, you know. And next thing I know, my dad got this great idea that I needed to go ahead and move to Texas with my mother, because my mother had just had prior, she had left Texas, she left San Jose, moved to Galveston, Texas. And for me, it was an opportunity for me to get closer to my dad. You know, I mentioned stated earlier, you know, my parents both from Louisiana, but I did leave out that they were divorced when I was 7. Um, but my dad was like, you know what, you a little too much right now, and you're kind of creating some challenges for my wife and I, my new wife and I. And you know, at the time, I was a gang. I wasn't gang active, but I was gang affiliate. So I was affiliate, didn't make it no better, but I was affiliated. And my dad was like, "Go in, you need to go to Texas." So I found myself in Galveston, and for the life of me, I felt like I was on Alcatraz. Like I literally felt like I was on Alcatraz. But it was during that time that, even though I had started this enlightenment where I wanted to know more about my heritage and things of that nature, I met a pastor by the name of Taylor Archie Jr., who was married to my mother's first cousin, who was also very knowledgeable about history. But he also was a pastor. And it was during that time that my spiritual formation began. So he used history to bring me into the church, you know, and it was that time where I, you know, began to develop my faith, you know, as a Christian. And um, so it took a while for me to really let go of the past. But once I let go of the past, I was able to realize that that move from San Jose to Galveston was a God ordained move. And so, um, kind of fast forward, this all will be in my book. You know, we got to plug that in, right? This will be in my book, which
Okay.
I am, which I'm working on that. That's another conversation. But but then, you know, as I got older, you know, eventually I became, you know, had some kids, and um, always wanted to have a family, you know, especially coming from brokenness and dysfunction. You know, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to be there for my kids, you know. So got married, and unfortunately that marriage did not work out, but it was a blessing at the same time, because the purpose that was in my heart back when I was a teenager, that turbulence resurrected the very thing that I was running away from, which was myself. And so it forced me to realign myself spiritually. It also put me in a corner, literally hitting rock bottom, to get sober from alcohol. Um, I never for the life of me thought that I could last a day without drinking, let alone a couple of days. And a good friend of mine said, "Bro, you know, you need to slow down. You know, you need to slow down on that, man, because you're not hurting anyone else. You're only hurting yourself, right?" So eventually, I took uh, took it one day at a time before I knew what that meant, and channeled my focus and energy towards working out. I decided to make a commitment at the age of 39 to get serious about my health and get in shape, in which, believe me, I tried to cut corners. I could not drink because I asked, "Can I still drink and work out and eat? You know, can I still?" No, got to put it up. So again, backed into a corner. So eventually I set a goal to lose 50 pounds in 12 weeks. I came just 11 pounds shy of my goal. But during this time, you know, learning to, um, you know, parent, single, um, not touch the bottle, and still navigate my business because, I had just not long prior opened my salon. So I'm a new business owner going through a divorce, parenting single, trying to stay sober, and just trying to, keep it together, right? So eventually, after I hit that first milestone, it wasn't long afterwards that I set a goal to compete in my first bodybuilding competition, in which I'm. It was a childhood dream for me watching Conan and I'm dating myself again. Watching Conan and Hercules and the Incredible Hulk and all that stuff, it was a dream come true for me, but it was therapy and it was healthy for my recovery to not only put my focus towards improving my health, but it also forced me to really dial in and focus on my purpose. And then I realized just how much of my struggles were an inspiration for others that didn't even know that I was going through the stuff that I was going through because of the way I'm set up. I'm not like naturally transparent. I'm not naturally tell everybody my business type stuff. I'm not naturally built like that. But I later had to learn that transparency was a very key ingredient for my mental and emotional and spiritual health. But here's the kicker with that. Being transparent doesn't necessarily mean that I'm just gonna just lay all my business on everybody's table. What it does mean is that I embrace my failures. I embrace my successes. Um, I, I'm not ashamed to live life and go through life without the mask or having stuff hung over my head because of shame. But instead, realizing that with that level of transparency, that it was a key ingredient for my recovery. But instead of me having to tell people what I went through, people would ask me questions like, "Man, how do you manage to do that?" And then it was an opportunity for me to share my testimony. And then it's like, wow, I didn't know that you had all that going on. And, man, you're a single father, and man, I never didn't know that even existed. But it proved to me that that pain, that suffering, and mind you, I take ownership of the parts I played in it. Even the stuff that wasn't necessarily my fault, it's still my problem. Embracing all of that stuff has reinforced my focus and my alignment to, want to help somebody that's going through um, the same stuff or something similar, and they don't have nobody to talk to.
In doing so, and talking to the people that you're trying to get a hold of, what do you intend for that to do exactly?
Well, my main motives and intentions in sharing is to help people to see that whatever you've gone through in your pain, that pain is not just pain just for the sake of pain, that there's something to learn from that. Pain sends signals to the body to let the body know some things that we need to pay attention to. So even when it comes to going through, whether it's divorce or struggling with addiction or struggling with health and obesity or just self-esteem, that there's something there of value to learn, because I believe that each and every one of us was created and were designed by purpose. So based on that, whatever we go through under the sun has some type of purpose and meaning. And when we're able to grasp, even if we don't have the whole story, or even if we don't have a full explanation, but if we're able to take some type of nugget from whatever pain that we have gone through, it builds our character up and it helps us to be better people.
True. Very true. And I guess there's so many men that are out here that are not really willing to, really put all the cards on the table, let people know that they did struggle at some point in time. Let me just, put my guard down for a minute. You never know what you can actually get or what type of healing you can get from letting your guard down.
I understand. I
But
understand.
I'll say it like this. I think we all need to feel it a little bit more and remember that we are still dealing with people, regardless. Everybody has their own demons that they're trying to deal with, and they're not necessarily dealing with them properly. And I
True.
think that is, for you to go into the ministry on that note was like, I didn't know what to say when you said that. I was like, what? Like, okay, I'll
Hmm.
take it. I'm like, I'll bite. And for you, the way you speak makes sense now. It just
Hmm.
makes complete sense because everybody needs to hear all those little tidbits. They need to know, like, okay, yeah, shoot, I broke a nail in the door. Dang nabbit, I was ready to curse. I was ready to go
Right.
off, but I had my moment of weakness.
True.
And I think that's such a great thing for you to be like trying. Now, are you trying to go for the kids or the men or, a type of this incarceration ministry or?
One of the things that the draw, the draw is men that are struggling. And when it comes to the sisters, especially the sisters that have gone through the single parent dynamic, those are those people that I just mentioned to you are the ones who give me the most engagement. Whether it's a video or it's a post, and so because the reality is that we're all dealing with something, but it's not enough to know that. Because when I'm going through something, the last thing I want to hear is, well, everybody's going through something. Well, what does that have to do with me? I'm hurting. So me knowing that someone else, that the whole world, in which I've learned that those type of responses come from individuals that are not safe. One of the things I had to learn, and it just so happens that my church is called a safe place, I had to learn that there are characteristics of unsafe people, and there are also characteristics of people that are safe. One of the things that men and women alike, specifically men, I want to touch on. One of the reasons why we don't open up is because we don't feel safe. And because we don't feel safe, we just gonna bottle that stuff in. We're gonna drink it away. We're gonna smoke it away. We're gonna sex it away. We're gonna work it away. But here's the thing, it doesn't go anywhere. If anything, depending on the nature of the hurt and pain, because some of the pain that we carry is stuff that was passed on, right? So depending on the nature of the pain, that pain can be a progressive pain. So in other words, it gets worse over time. Not, oh, it'll get better in time. There's some things that get progressively worse in time, unless there is some type of intervention or something radical, or even just something like a moderate, like just a subtle shift. A subtle shift for me was hearing somebody say, man, you know what? I went through the same thing, man. And guess how I dealt with it. Those little subtleties can be a game changer, not just for men, but for all of us, to know that it's not just me. Because when I start thinking that it's just me, then that's where isolation comes in. That's where the self-sabotage comes in, because it's just me. But guess what else comes up? But guess what else comes into play too when it's just me? My pride and my arrogance. And so I become prideful about my struggle. I become arrogant when it comes to my suffering, because you don't know my story. You don't know what I've been through. You can't handle. If I get told you everything I've been through, you probably kill yourself. That's arrogant.
And they
But
do say that.
yes, but it's a way to, because misery can be addictive. it can be addicting to hold on to wounds and, not pull the Band-Aid back. Just leave Band-Aid on. Don't check it. We just put a Band-Aid on it and we just hold on to it. We don't pull the Band-Aid back. We don't change the bandages. We just leave it there. And it becomes comfortable and it festers. And guess what happens? We find ourselves attracting other people that have similar wounds. And then you have two wounds coming together, having babies together, creating all kind of infections, right? When having someone say, you know what, with all sincerity, man, I've been there, I've been through that, or man, you're not alone. And one of the greatest self-deceptions, one of the biggest self-deceptions, is to think that humans, being that we're communal species, the biggest self-deception is to think that we're alone. Especially for some of us who have introverted personalities. Oh, we really alone, and we okay with that, right? Leave me alone. What you calling my phone for? Why are you knocking on my door? What do you mean, how am I doing? Why you want to know how I'm doing? And I think naturally, especially if, we sharing the same DNA, naturally we should be communal, we should be supportive, we should be loving, forgiving, you know. But I'm reminded of something that is written in the text that Cain killed Abel, you know. But then I read that in the text, but then I'm like, but that couldn't happen to me though. That was them, right? But it's something about when it hits home. We look at our worldview tends to shift, but that's an opportunity for growth, and it helps to have the right conversations with self, ask the right questions, and having somebody that's trustworthy to be able to talk to. As my mentor would say, have an ear to listen to. That's like a bucket with no holes in it. You just pour into them, and everything you pour in is gonna go right out them holes. They ain't holding none of that stuff that you put in their ear. They ain't gonna go tell nobody your business because, especially the way I'm set up, I don't know, you telling my business. You know what
Let
I'm
me see
saying?
you
I mean,
outside, bro.
well, I mean, just a misunderstanding. We're gonna have a misunderstanding, and so, and I'm not about to compromise my testimony, because yeah.
No.
But I think something too that when it comes to handling things on our own, I think about Superman, and I think about Wonder Woman. If you look at them, they had help, but we focus on the heroic side and them doing all these amazing feats, but they had somebody that they can confide.
And
Um,
daddy.
what was that?
Superman had his dad and his mom.
Yeah, yeah. And then let alone when he was Clark Kent, he had Lois, someone that you can talk to. And I think, and he didn't ignore his weakness. His weakness was kryptonite. He didn't ignore his weakness. I read somewhere, just the way my brain is set up, I did a Google. I just typed in Superman's weaknesses. Apparently, there's a list. It's not just kryptonite. Superman had many weaknesses.
Right. The red sun.
Hmm.
I'm a nerd, sorry.
Nice, nice. You know what I'm saying? And so, whatever our weaknesses are, may not necessarily be a weakness. It's just how we were born. It's just our temperament. We
And
have to
where we were
learn,
raised.
and how our environments molded, shaped, and cult. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
you know, I cannot help but be analytical. You know, I'm a high C. That's I mean, I'm a high C, and I'm okay with that. You know, and I used to have people around me that would demonize it, you know, but not realizing that the very thing that you're demonizing me for, when you need some information, you know who to call, right? But I also learned something too. For people that are high Ds, I don't know if you ever took the DISC assessment, the personality assessment.
Not
I'm
yet.
gonna I'm gonna
Please
say
send
the
it to
link.
me because I
Yeah,
lost it.
powerful. I've been studying myself. Um, you know, for people that have display certain strengths and or weaknesses, you know, I make it a point to be like, you know what, I'm not like you, and that's okay. I don't make quick, fast decisions. So, and I don't envy people that do, because there's just different personalities. But when they know that, hey, I need to slow down, let me call Darren, because Darren's gonna, you know, weigh out the risk reward, right? But this is how they help me. I may feel like I don't have all the information, but they help me to see that I have everything I need to execute and take action. So I don't need to go read another book. I don't need to go watch another YouTube video. Based on what I have right now is enough for me to take action.
So I definitely want to commend you on everything that you're doing because you're doing the dang thing, sir. And I appreciate the opportunity that you're giving me to kind of like just kind of dissect Mr. Darren, you know, and get it all together. I'm sorry, I'm a big goofball, but I'm a big hearted person, and I just love people, and I love people that want to make change for other people. And I think that's so important. And I do this because I want people to say, look, just because you were where you were doesn't mean you have to stay
Right. Don't have to stay that way.
there. No,
So true.
no. Look at my brother. He got it together, y'all. Just got married, y'all. Just got
Just saying. Right? Just saying. And the thing about doing the work, when I go to meetings, um, you know, there's various ages. But then when I look at what we call in the therapeutic community, we call them the old timers, you know, those who have like 15, 20, 25, 30 plus years of sobriety. And when I watch them, you know, come to meetings in their walker, in their cane, um, you know, and I look at them, I'm like, okay, this is for life. You know, there's no cure for this. But here's the blessing. Alcohol was never the problem. It was only a symptom of the real problem, which was the stuff that I was dealing with within myself. That was the real problem. And I committed a great number of years trying to get alcohol to fix something that it was never meant to fix. And then hence I developed an allergy to alcohol. You know, some people can have one sip, occasional get a glass of wine, and they're good. I'm not set up that way. You know, I'm not wired for moderation. And because of that, and that awareness, because of that awareness, there's no sense of me trying to take what I know is my kryptonite and try to get it to suit me, because it's what it is. Now, one of the things that I want to encourage everyone that's listening is this. You said something key. Just because I'm gonna tell it myself, because I can't get in trouble telling them. Just because I've been a certain way for an extended period of time does not mean that I have to stay that way. And when I tell you, I don't know if you ever watched the Chappelle show. There was an episode when he talked about when keeping it real goes wrong. Some of us have been keeping it so real to our past wounds that we're just jacked up, and we're blind to the reality that us being loyal and keeping it real to our pain, it does more harm than good, and we don't have to stay there. But it does require taking some type of action. I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna go to the basics. It starts first off with admitting that there is a problem. Now, one thing about admitting something, it's a step. It's not the end. Because some of us will be on some. Well, I know I'm crazy, and that's it. Not okay. Maybe I should seek some therapy, or maybe I should invest in. Maybe I should find a group, or maybe I need to go see my doctor. Maybe I need to take something because my chemical imbalance is off, right? And so when it comes to admitting something, is only the first step. It's not the last. Because when I saw a sister downtown Houston, she was at the light talking to whoever she was talking to. You kind of see where I'm going with it? She was having a conversation with somebody. I don't know who it was. One of the things that came to my mind is I could have been her. Had I not gotten over myself, had I not made a conscious decision to put my arrogance and my pride to the side and admit that, hey, I'm hurting, right? Had I not taken or taken the necessary steps, that could be me on the corner talking to somebody. You don't see nobody around but me. Because when I saw that sister, I'm like, she's no different from me. She's just like me. But at somewhere, there was a shift and there was no one to turn to. That is humbling.
It really is. I'm not gonna even lie. Look, I usually play with people and I'd be like, ooh, I talk to myself because I'm the smartest person I know. And so they'd be like, really? I was like, hey, okay, it happens, but you know what? You're correct. You are correct. Sometimes we don't even notice these things, and in our minds, we're seeing somebody that's talking to somebody or whatever, but in their minds, they could be seeing somebody or their reflection, or they're having a whole conversation with themselves. You never know.
Right.
And some people do. I know too many people in Philly that do that on purpose. So, you may want to check it, because they do that on purpose, because they be like, oh, you wanna come after me? Oh, I'm gonna start talking to myself. That's what we gonna do. We gonna do that, and they gonna be like, she crazy. Nope, I'm gonna back up, give her 50 feet and go about my business and go find somebody else. But yes, no, I understand completely. Sometimes it catches you off guard.
Right.
Anything. Mental anything catches you off guard. Somebody just brought it to my attention and said that a family member of mine may also have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't stand this person. Ugh. I'm not the type of person that say anything about anyone. Okay, like I will go to bat for anyone. Like, I don't even have to like who you are or anything. But you talking about a short fuse? She would just say hi, and I was ready to go down that throat.
I get it.
But I started seeing, like, okay, you know what? Maybe I am not. And we don't always see that, especially when that's not even in our wheelhouse. What do we do?
Right.
Like, you don't have pastors that are ordained to talk to mental patients, or even equipped to do so. So I'm gonna need you to get your pilot's license for the crazies, okay? This is all I'm saying.
I'm with it. Yes, I am.
But yes, I appreciated all of it. Yes.
Awesome. I appreciate you, and I'm honored to be a part of what you're doing. I'm excited.
Yes, I appreciate it. I'm so humbled because I'm like, you know what? I know someone needed to hear your story, and I really wanted you to like be on air with me. And I was just like, not to boast or anything like that. I'm not that type of person, but if anything, it might, make some other folks, finally come on boat. You know what I mean? But it's all good.
Sometimes you have to show the world, i.e., family, friends. Sometimes we just have to, and it's really proof to self more than anything. Not so much to prove anything to others, but it's more so proof to self that I have an idea, I have a passion, and I'm gonna stay true whether y'all gonna ride or not. Now, I can't guarantee that there'll still be room on this train for y'all to get on, but you can't say that I didn't extend a ticket for y'all to get on board. But I have somewhere I have to go.
Yes. And you are, I was just about to put that up on my Facebook, which was, um, you might have just missed the train kind of situation because not everybody can go on this ride.
It's not.
And I'm okay with that.
Because guess what? I had to learn that there's some people that will cause more damage if I bring them along than just allow them to be where they're at.
True. Very true. Oh, you got to say that. Say it again, sir. Say it again. I'm
I
going
had
to
to
put this up.
learn. I had to learn that there's some people that can do more damage by me bringing them along than me leaving them where they're at.
Mm, 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 mm. I'm gonna have to put that on something. It's gotta go on. If I have to
Write
get a shirt, I will.
I'm telling you, write it down. Write it down.
I need that because it's so true, and so many people will be like, "Well, you didn't tell me." Really?
Right, right.
Uh,
There was
But I
something
appreciate. Hmm.
real quick. I know we're about to close real quick. There was something that it was a documentary about Walt Disney, and I didn't know that he died before they built Disney World in Orlando. I didn't know he had already passed. And someone had made a comment, when they, had their grand opening, and they made a comment. They said, man, wouldn't it be something if Walt was here to see this? And then the other person said, oh, he saw all this at the beginning. We're just what he saw in his mind. We just built what he already saw. He already saw it. And so, saying all this to say, when it comes to ideas, vision, this can be another conversation, perhaps. Um, we're each given a set of prescription glasses, and not everybody is meant to wear that prescription. Some people feel like, man, them glasses make my head hurt because this prescription is not for you. It's not for you. So who am I to force people? And I used to do this. I used to try to force people to wear my glasses. And then I later started wondering like, why they hating on me? Because I'm over here forcing something on them that they didn't ask me for.
Ooh.
But that's
No,
another
I hear you.
conversation. That could be another segment. Yeah, we can chop it up on that another time. May want to
I'm
make it.
so glad you set up for another conversation, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you know what, Miss Mr. Darren, I'm appreciative. I'm so appreciative of the time that you're able to like talk to me and allowing me to interview you. And really wasn't an interview, it was more of a conversation between kindred spirits, and I really love that. And I'm just so happy and so honored really for you to grace yourself with me and my little tiny podcast.
I love it.
But it's going to be bigger. It's going to be more.
Absolutely.
It's going to be more. And I appreciate everything. You guys like, share, subscribe. I'm going to have Mr. Darren's information below. He will give me his information. He will let me know what we can do to benefit um, his sight, his vision, and all that includes. And he's a good guy. He's just willing to just have a family and just take people on a peaceful run with him. And I appreciate that. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for living your best life with Lady Maya. And you guys have a most spectacular day.